my frat brothers have put together a list of some of the things the CIA has done to screw with the black community.
History. I'm going to lay some ground rules here. I retained this information through seeking it out when I was in my 20s, which was over 20 years ago. And I ran around the U.S. I asked questions until I got answers. Someone told me no, I kept looking. People in my shade were afraid because they experienced things and they felt if I say this, it's going to make it happen again. There were brave people, and I got stories from non-black people and black people and just across the board, all types of people. So great and lost generation people. And I was a person who I would meet someone and then meet their grandparents or their great grandparent. And that's just how I rolled. I liked being around older people because I had questions. And since the family I was born to didn't give me answers, because I was very much into genealogy when the Melungeon thing came up, this is what I did. I went and sought those things out and went to Britain for more answers. So I have my notes and all my stuff. I'm going to try to stay on topic and see what happens. First and foremost, electricity wasn't widely available in homes till 1925. Running water wasn't in homes until 1930s and 1940s. Refrigeration, meaning no electricity, until 1913. And in the South, that was the 40s. And bathing was not a norm. These were not the upper echelon, and even the elite Caucasian or Anglo-Saxon people didn't believe in bathing at all. Queen Elizabeth I bathed once a month. Medical hygiene, dysentery. So when you talk about a house slave, like it meant privilege, there was no plumbing. It had rats. There was dysentery. There were slop buckets. It smelled like rotting meat and unwashed bodies in corsets. And sometimes you couldn't even bathe because the mistress thought you were too fresh for her husband's liking. And George Washington had dysentery. Multiple people did. Bathwater, sweat, urine, feces, and menstrual blood were rubbed on faces and bodies as humiliation and symbolic purification. SA wasn't just art, it was ritual dehumanization. And some mistresses would force enslaved women to clean themselves with the same water they used, then punish them for being unclean. Babies born to masters were frequently unalived by the mistresses, or enslaved mothers themselves to spare them from the horrors. The deaths were rarely recorded, and you might say, well, why? They weren't insured. What could be insured? When two slaves make a baby, they were insured. When a master father a baby, no. And the mortality rate was so high for these invisible people. In reference to fancy girls and the higher price for biracial women, the higher the price, the more explicit the abuse is what was told to me. Those homes they lived in were brothels. They were nice. You get to dress up and you get to hide all of the signs of bruising and appear to be something you're not, which is very good at what American culture does all day, all the time. One lady told me her mother would say it was a cage with velvet curtains, is what she called the house, because what happened in the house stayed in the house. They wanted dissension between the field and the house because that plays out even today in colorism. And the reason why I don't fall for it is because I'm aware of so much, but you have to understand there are skinwalkers and people in our shade who do actually make money from the dissension between us. Also, I'm gonna have SA with you, or make you do those, things to me like cunnilingus, fellatio, whatever, and I haven't bathed in over a month. And you have to understand these people were esoteric, so they were occult, and they were Scottish Rite occult. This goes high up. This is not just some regular basic stuff that you're aware of. And me being in spaces and places around people was because they saw me as majestic and revered me as a root worker. Because as much as you think the preacher was revered, it was actually the conjure woman on the plantation. They were untouchable. Harriet Tubman, like the enslaved community feared the revered the root worker, midwife, or healer. She carried ancestral knowledge from Africa, plants, spirits, bone reading, and incantations. They could bless babies or curse slave owners. And Harriet Tubman stopped the heart. Like, a lot of you think rebellions were just like Nat Turner. Rebellions were food. Like, there was a rebellion at least, I would say, 8 times a year. And you have to understand, when from conjuring to food to revolts to, like, there were revolts in many spaces and places. And they are not telling you, because then you would be like, wait, we were fighting? This whole turn the other cheek, that wasn't a thing. It wasn't an eye for an eye. It wasn't, you took my eye and now your family disappears. It's like everything about you will suffer now. It's where they obviously wanted us to adopt this Christianity, to have the idea that we are supposed to submit and be in these spaces and places to just bow down. And they don't do that, though. Like, I've been around people, white people, who were like, I don't accept that for you, Kimberly. No, you don't let somebody treat you like that. And it was like, if I need to come back and say more, I will. Also, if the sound is removed on the platform you're on, go to another platform. I'm going to upload this to multiple places, and we'll see.